the late Wopo Hala, and she was one of the first artists I met, professional artists I met when I was still at the University of Texas, Austin, and studying natural science and computers. But her work has always influenced me. And she did one of the largest public art pieces in New York City at the right where the Statue of Liberty is, and that park where you catch the boat. You know, it had a beautiful, but an amazing artist. And this was one of the last pieces she made, and it was actually a request, so I'm very blessed. It's a very meditative piece. Okay. Nopal 2 by Oscar Moya. You know, the prickly pear, the nopales. I love this piece because you know, nopales, we forget, it's a miracle food. A miracle food. You can add it in eggs and stews. I harvest the fruit, which it's a yearly tradition, and make jam and preserves and add it to margaritas, you know. So, you know, this is our natural inheritance, and we forget about that tithe of the land and the beautiful bounty that we have. Okay? And this is another piece by Oscar Moya. He paints a lot of his figures with you know, different skin colors. And, you know, that is just part of his, you know, play with color, but also just identifying with the story. Here it's the maquiladora worker. And this is what I love for the artists to also, you know, speak and talk about their work at each showing. He's also giving a printmaking workshop on October 15th that's offered there free for everybody with desert plants, and then children, adults, they get their, you know, you can get your hands on art making and take your prints with them. We're going to photograph them and create a piece that is made by, you know, the community that participates. This is a collage I made that was tied to my work with 7-string barbed wire fence, and just the different pieces of the wall, like this patchwork. And, you know, it just, you know, especially struck me at Oceanside, where we have the ocean, and it just seems very unnatural to have that division there. So, and this is another piece by Antonio Castro, immigrant, and it's a counter-statement to fear-based messages. In actuality, immigrants, both legal and undocumented, are much less likely to commit crimes. So, you know, it's a lot of what the messaging goes out, and what is the reality? What are the facts? We are losing sight of a lot of true facts, and, you know, Facebook and so many, you know, news, you know, not real news channels that we're getting, and that's a danger of our times that is causing, quite frankly, havoc in our democracy, you know. So, all about truth. Let's go next. Oline, this is the piece that that Mark Clark spoke about earlier. I love this piece, and this is how it works. You know, I'm just giving you other insights in how a piece comes to be in the show. I was laying out, I had to lay out, you know, not only write the manuscript, but literally decide which artwork faces the other artwork and how they all go. And the way I fashioned the book, that the text would go first, so then I'd have the art after each chapter, so you just go through the art without distraction of the text. So I had one of Mark Clark's pieces, and I had another piece by another artist, and, you know, near the end it just didn't feel right, it just didn't flow. So I said, Mark, send me some other pieces that you have. And then he sent me a few options, and this was the perfect fit. It went into the book, and then it went into the show. So, you know, it's just that you never know how the creative process works. Okay? This was the piece that I wanted matching on the other page. and it's greetings from La Frontera. So, you know, he was growing right there by the, he was living there in Brownsville by the bridge, so he's just taking it, and he decided to make a Frontera pinup girl. So that was his take on that. Would you see the border patrol waiting over there? And meanwhile, the folks climbing across the wall. This is another by Antonio Castro, and it's called Renacimiento, Rebirth. And it speaks to the, you know, a lot of the violence that was going on in Juarez, which is the community he was living in. He had two homes between El Paso and Juarez, and, you know, that just coming out of it, and the bullets are there on the cracked earth, and you have the, you know, between night and darkness and light. So the symbolism in the images. This is a recently a new edition that I added in Carlsbad, and you know, I'm working to bring younger artists into the mix. And Gina Gwen Palacios, her father, which is depicted here, and her aunt grew up in the you know, she grew up in the cotton fields, and her parents and family were working the cotton fields. So she literally created this from cardboard and cotton. And in the Las Cruces show, I have a whole group of children that was more than two. I think it's 5 or 6 that you might have seen. I don't know, in the video, but just, you know, different materials. This one you saw Davina speaking about, and it's a personal journey. She's originally from Mexico, came to study art in the U.S. and has you know, now teaches at UTEP. But she was going through her own personal journey of, she had moved to El Paso because her husband had employment here and had moved here. But then she was going through a divorce. And the gap in the heart, you know, is you know, with a kind of a choking necklace. You know, every day she'd make a flower as she was going through that process of pain, separation, the undoing. And then the next piece, it starts healing. The choker starts loosening up. In the next one, it's smaller. In the last one, it is all healed up. The choker's loose, and she has the divorce decree as the paper. All the other paper are daily receipts, daily, you know, just daily expenses, checks. That's what she made it out of. Just, you know, remnants of day-to-day life, but telling a story of her transformation in that process. And Food Science by Victoria Suesco. She spent a lot of time growing up in Panama, but then moved to San Antonio for her graduate work and has remained living there. And she takes a lot of inspiration from the art that goes on restaurants and walls of restaurants or tienditas, and you know, she has just chosen those to depict these food items, and you know, just the color, you know, the color. It's something unique. It's something unique. So just that playful. Cesar Martinez here, he takes a combination of the Mona Lupe and the Mona Lisa. Okay. Now, let me ask you on time. Do y'all have to like leave right at 3? Yeah. You do? Okay. I'd rather have discussion than keep talking, you know, if you don't mind. Let's go quickly through these, just like real quick, just to see the art. Also by Gaspar. This is speaking to the mass shooting and the repetition of it. the environment. We brought in the children's artwork from the Tornillo camp. This is a piece, Song on the Wings of Debris, created with Angel Cabrales, made of old piano keys, discarded piano keys, an homage to all that we lost, and just you know, that the symbolism of wings and how we go forward. This is just a little bit on my own work with the recycled trash, 100% recycled trash. Let's go faster. A shawl or blanket used in, you know, tapestries with roots in this borderland area. This is like taking you see the barcodes as the underbelly of the diamondback rattler. This is where I start, just the trash, then piece things together, make a sarape. There's my process, rolling it out. Sagrado Corazon, and then my book. So let's have time for a little questions then. Any comments? Any questions about what you saw?
I'm wondering about the process of selecting the artists, how they, like your awareness of them, or is it, was there an open call for them? Because I find it really interesting of the different places they come from, that it seems pretty far-flung, and that their work is really diverse from each other. What's sort of the coming together process?
So that's a very good question. I had joined the Juntos Art Association because as an individual artist, you can get very lost in your, very focused on your own work and process. And so joined that organization in order to meet other artists. It was El Paso based and had started in the 80s. Well, I had already been packaging exhibits, curating exhibits of my own. So I saw that they needed more of that. And like I said, I was working with a variety of artists, and thank you very much, and wanted to find something that could incorporate the different mediums and put it all together. That's where that loteria games is like, okay, they kind of switched. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Icons and symbols, that's broad and can include many representations. So then I was in a biennial in El Paso, and there were other artists like Mark Clark that had been, and I liked his work, so I invited him. And when I decided to go with that, El Paso is not the only border, so I just wanted to extend it. And I met Delilah Montoya, and I just went, as I met artists, and I started visiting studios, and just kind of seeing the artists that I'd come across. My partner, Cesar Martinez, he was one of the first that I invited because he's very well known and has a long history of showing. And his work is very prominently featured because his work crosses all the different themes. But say Antonio Castro, I invited him to join. So if I see work that speaks to the theme, and that's one question that, well, it's not very democratic. You have more of one artist than the other. But if one artist only has a piece that fits it, then that's it. I need to go with the theme and the project, and so that's how I seek out. We just brought this new filmmaker from that Alex had seen, Alex Macias in Tucson, and she participated in the short films we had at the Rio Grande. So, Gina Gwen Palacios, she had taken his job over in Brownsville. So I just, looked up her site, and so if it really strikes me, it has to impact me emotionally. So there's at some point we will do an exhibit calling out other artists and, broader, but right now with this exhibit, it's just going in, and it's going to Florida next too.
Wow.
So to the James Museum of Western Art for 5 months, and they want it during the election year. So, and that's really great because I'll have 1 year to prepare the list, and they want it with the outreach that we've been doing too. So, different components. So we hope to take Frontera Boogaloo over there. Yeah. So, yeah, they're a lot of fun. They went to Albuquerque, I think they're this weekend or this past weekend to the.
Globe Albuquerque, so they had all the.
Yes, yes. But it is that, how do we appeal to different ages? We want to bring in, younger artists now and, just keep it going. It really is important to have the diversity of perspective. So.
Everyone's giving a round of applause. And the explanation behind it, I think that was really cool. The mark clouds were probably my favorite. So.
Oh, good. Who are your favorites? Anybody want to share? Like what struck you?
The Rio Grande.
Oh, okay. What about you?
The ones with the embodies, and the
Yes, the playful.
yeah.
And we'll just go along. You share about your favorite.
You didn't really give a lot of explanation on it, but the ones like the prisoners with the tattoos and all those, I saw them for that and I really like those.
Okay, that's in the sacred and profane section. Young man? Yeah, they were all too excited, right? Okay, how about you?
I like the one that he had with it was like the two different colors. It was like the red and the blue, and they kind of like,
Yeah. Mark Clark's.
yeah.
Orlean, what about?
I like the one where it was like the tribute to that artist who was killed by his own sculpture. I really love that.
Yeah,
It's very interesting.
very interesting.
I think it was a painting, Antonio Castro. It looks very collage oriented, but then I think it's all painted as well. It has a portrait of Dali.
Yes, mi busquera.
Okay, but it is a painting.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
work that struck me.
That painting's been with us since the beginning.
Cool. Yeah, it's really strong.
Dr. Caldwell. Well, that's positive feedback. That's great. That's how I feel about them. It's very hard to choose.
I forgot who the artist was, but the Renacimiento one.
Mm-hmm.
To the mesquite sculpture, how depicted it was every single, the muscle, and then actually your collage, I really enjoyed the collage that you did about your family. Genealogy. I really, really identify with that one.
Oh, thank you. That was done with my mom's help.
And I met your mom, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you knew who I was talking about.
It's just so eclectic. There's so many diverse thoughts and processes of how to do things. But of course, the jaguars, the beautiful turquoise. I love turquoise. So the beautiful turquoise, but it was all fascinating, and it went from more, I don't know, historical or kind of an older process to then you were starting to show very new, younger, where we get into more recent history with the AK-15s and the tattoos and very interesting.
More current today.
Yeah.
Well, the book won the Independent Publishers Book Award for Politics and Current Events. So that was a big surprise to me because, when I hadn't even, just the publisher had proposed it, but, instead of the art category, that it was, got it in that category. So. And is anybody interested to go see the exhibit?
Which one did you like?
The one in Las Cruces right now that closes October 15th, and I'll give you a card.
It closes October 15th?
Closes October 15th. Very well worth the trip.
I'm going to send this to someone.
This is on, and I can send you the digital version.
Okay.
These have already occurred, but, you know, I try to maximize on the use of the, you know, so it shows where the exhibit shows till the 15th here, and then that workshop. We printed for our August events. You have one anyway, too. Thank you. With a mark. Would you like one?
As she's passing out the flyers, I'm just gonna remind you that there are surveys in front of you. If you could just please fill them out and just hand them out to us as you guys are leaving out. Our next event will be Bella, will be this Thursday, September 27th at 7 p.m. in the Greyhound Lounge, which is upstairs. So she's gonna be doing her slam poetry. So come support. Go see me.
Thanks to Rob for her coordination with this, my tocaya Diana, Dr. Caldwell, and all of you, Jessica here at ENMU for hosting me. It's been a pleasure, always a pleasure.